Hi everyone, my name is Justin Odisho, and in this Photoshop tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to use the black and white adjustment tool. So you could find this adjustment under Image, Adjustments, Black and White. However, in most cases I'd recommend going to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Black and White, and working on an adjustment layer rather than applying the adjustment directly onto the photo layer. This will just offer you more freedom and flexibility in case you mess up or you want to adjust settings later on. So this is your black and white adjustment layer, and it'll open up the properties menu of the adjustment tool as normal. And I'm going to break down how it works for you guys. So you should see this screen here with 6 different color channels: red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta. So the way it works is you can influence the brightness or the darkness of each separate color channel. So in this case, this photo is mostly red, so you can see when I drag the reds up, it makes everything a lot brighter, and when I drag the reds down, it makes everything a lot darker. And this is really useful when you want that contrasted or customized black and white look that doesn't look like you just flatly desaturated the image. So it gives you some control over your final result and the mood you want to portray. So in this case, I think it looks nice when I darken up the red. It adds some grit and texture to that track and field in the background. And then you could play around with the other tones of your photo. The yellows, you can see if they look nice, dark, or light, and etc. Whatever will make the subjects and the textures in your photo pop out well. There's always this auto button here, but I don't recommend using it. It usually doesn't ever look as good as when you just use your own eye. So I'll undo that and I can get back to my last step. Now you can also use this little pointer button to click and drag brightness and darkness with the ink dropper. So let's say I just wanted the white of the shoe to be brighter and I wasn't sure exactly what color channel that was falling under. I can click on it with the ink dropper, swipe right or drag right, and you can see it gets brighter or darker. This can be kind of hit or miss because the ink dropper is pulling one exact pixel, but it's another way to work and a workflow in the black and white tool for you. Now you can also add a tint right within the black and white tool. So if you check the tint box, you can add some sepia tones or different colors. So let's say I wanted a black and white, but I also wanted a green tint. So you want to pick not too saturated of a color, because you see what that does. You want to pick a very barely saturated color, and you can see I can add a bluish tint to the black and white to give it some personality, or I can add a greenish or brownish tint, whatever look I'm going for. And just like in any menu, there's always presets that they come with, like blue filter, infrared, black and white, that just give you some different preset options to cycle through. A lot of times you're going to be able to come up with something better for your exact photo if you do it by hand. But these presets can be a good place to start to play around with what might look good, and you can actually start with a preset and then adjust it on your own afterwards. But I'll undo till I'm back to my custom here, and let's say I wanted to save this custom preset so I could use it over and over again for different photos from the same set. If you actually click this 3-line menu button in the corner, you can get a few more options to save and load presets. So if I save black and white preset, I can create a Photoshop preset file, and whenever I go to open Photoshop, this custom, or whatever you name it, preset of black and white will always be in your black and white presets menu. Lastly, if you switch over to the layer mask property menu, you can adjust the layer mask, which isn't really part of the adjustment tool. That's a whole separate thing. But whenever you're working with adjustment layers, they always come with layer masks, and you can do a few things like refine it by color range. So if I click this, I can use my ink dropper to select an actual color range from the photo to make that black and white layer effect. And then if I actually hold shift with the ink dropper, I can click and drag to select a whole range of colors to make our black and white layer effect. Because remember, white reveals and black conceals the adjustment. So you can see what's happening here when I selected all of the red of the track and field. It's applying the adjustment layer all in those areas, and then some of these shadows and parts of her running clothes get left behind. Alternatively, if I check invert, I can do the other way around to create a black and white effect on some parts of her. But ideally, if you're trying to do those color isolation effects and pop of color effect, I would use just a more exact method of masking and creating selections and masking them out, which I have tutorials on my channel. But that's just another cool thing you could play around with right within the layer mask menu. I'm going to actually just right click and disable that layer mask because I want my black and white adjustment layer to affect the whole image overall. And when you're working with adjustment layers, you can do things like lower the opacity afterwards, set them to different blending modes, and just have a lot more flexibility overall. But those are the basics of the black and white adjustment tool in Photoshop. Hopefully you guys learned a few things and you can use this to create more interesting black and white photos rather than just going to image adjustments, desaturate. So if you guys did enjoy this video, definitely hit the like button below, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought, tell me what you want me to do a tutorial on next, and definitely subscribe to stay tuned for future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.